Hello, my name is Kay Meyer. Welcome to my spring book haul. I have a couple books that I bought new because they went on sale, and then I have a bunch that I got used because unfortunately the only used bookstore in my small town is closing. So I had to go to their closing sale, of course, and it's still going on, so I might even go back again because I felt like I only spent a half hour there, just because they have two, I think maybe even three cats in the store, and as a cat allergy girly, I could only spend so long before my nose started really itching, which is unfortunate because I love this store and I'm really sad they're closing and the cats are really cute. So yeah, I'm kind of sad that I'm making a end of the store book haul because in addition to selling used books, they also had some really great community programs going. They also had just open hours where you could sit and craft or read or talk to people there. They were super nice and it was family run and just a bummer that they're closing. I'm really glad I went, not only because I found some great books, but also because I got to talk to one of the people that works there a little bit, and they actually are going to be opening up their own bookstore in a different location in the same town. So I am really excited and holding my fingers crossed for them because I really want that to work out. I bought a mix of books that I haven't read before and ones that I have read but never had my own copy. For the ones that I haven't read before, I might read a little bit of the blurbs for you. I got these books yesterday and I'm going to have to refresh my memory as well. So let me get into it. So the two books that I bought new were actually both by YouTubers. So first up, I finally got my own copy of Local Heavens. This is by Caine Fajardo. She has a really great YouTube channel. Seriously, check her out. She's one of my favorites on here, and I am so excited to read her debut. I started watching her YouTube channel somewhere in her querying process, and I already like just her general vibes, but this book sounds so good. I'm so excited I can finally read it. I do already have a few books that I have lined up to read next, so I will probably get to this in a couple months over the summer. But now I don't have to wait. I have my own copy because I looked at how long it was going to be to get it at the library, and it was going to be November, and I seriously couldn't wait that long. So Local Heavens is a queer cyberpunk retelling of The Great Gatsby. Yeah, I'm all in on that. And I've read 3 different retellings of The Great Gatsby and really excited to add this to the list. This is also the only one with a cyberpunk twist, and seriously, check out her stuff. You might have heard about this one already. It's pretty popular now. So the second new book I bought is also from a YouTuber. This is The Hunger Crushing Combo Method by Abbey Sharp. I am not a big diets person. I honestly think they do a lot more harm than good, and I've watched Abby's videos on YouTube for so many years now. I'm only about 45 pages in, and I really like her writing style. It's very similar to how she scripts her videos. I like how she doesn't put a big emphasis on eating solely vegan or solely carnivore or cutting out anything. She really talks about just adding things. I really like her approach of healthy eating from a whole mental health and healthy body standpoint, and especially if you want to eat the sweet treats, eat the sweet treats. But she's also really big about removing the moral value that we sometimes put on food, especially when it comes to all the health food trends and what is considered healthy and what is not, and all the stupid stuff with everything getting protein added to it lately. And just she does a lot of debunking of wellness trends on her YouTube channel, and I'm just excited to kind of read a little bit more from her perspective. Some of the people in my family have complicated relationships with food because of their really severe allergies, so I'm hoping I can read this and learn some things I might be able to pass along to them. Obviously, I'm not a dietitian or anything. Definitely research this for yourself, but this is just one book I'm going to read to maybe learn a little bit more about food and feeling better. All right, on to the books I got from the used bookstore. I have 1 middle grade, a handful of young adult, 2 other nonfiction, and a couple adult as well. So we're going to start with the middle grade just because there's only one. I picked up The Sisters of the Lost Marsh by Lucy Strange. This is by a British author, and this cover just immediately caught my eye. There's like a circus tent with a bunch of girls in the front, and from the little blurb inside, I believe they're all sisters. And there's just a eerie vibe, especially because there are a bunch of... Oh, whoa! I'm looking at the sky above the circus tent, and I don't know if this will come up on camera, but in the clouds, there's like these lines of what looks like kind of ghost faces and also some animals. Like there's maybe a dog, a bear, and like a horse. I don't know if that'll come up because it's like a really fine red on top of red. But yeah, I didn't notice that before. Quick little bit about the book. This is a thrilling story of 6 sisters who must fight against circumstance and fate. On a poor farm surrounded by marshlands, 6 sisters, Grace, Willa, Freya, and triplets, Dee Dee, Darcy, and Dolly, live in fear of their father and the superstition that haunts him, the curse of the 6 daughters. I don't know what that's about, but as one of 3 sisters, I definitely am intrigued. When the full moon fair makes a rare visit to Hollow in the Marsh, the girls slip out to see the famous Shadow Man. Afterward, the oldest sister, Grace, goes missing. Following the full moon fair into the Lost Marsh, Willa will have to battle her inner doubts and the legends that have haunted her family. Can she save her sister from one fate and outrun her own? Ooh, so a little bit of a creepy mystery, I think, with some fantasy elements thrown in. Moving on to YA, I got 2 by the author Mary H.K. Choi, Emergency Contact. I read this as an audiobook, and this is by far my favorite book by this author. I just really liked how she created these characters, and they really felt like fully dimensional people. It's a little bit of a romance, but also just about connecting in general and finding someone to talk to. Penny Lee is heading to college in Austin, Texas to learn how to become a writer. It's 79 miles and a zillion light years away from everything she can't wait to leave behind. Sam's stuck. Literally, figuratively, emotionally, financially. He works at the cafe and sleeps there too, on a mattress on the floor of an empty storage room upstairs. When Sam and Penny cross paths, it's less meet cute and more a collision of unbearable awkwardness. Yeah, I can relate to that. Still, they swap numbers and stay in touch via text, and soon become digitally inseparable, sharing their deepest anxieties and a secret dream without the humiliating weirdness of having to, see each other. I believe this came out in 2018, but yeah, stuff like that just continues to be relevant, especially after 2020 and on, really. The second book I got by Mary H.K. Choi is Permanent Record. I got this from the library a couple years ago and wasn't able to finish it before I had to return it, and unfortunately just never got around to picking it back up. But now I have my own copy, so I can read it whenever I want, and I'm going to put down the mic for a second here to show you how cool this cover is. So the art style of the cover is very simple, like line art of a person and another person about to kiss, but the book jacket is like this clear plastic that actually has one of the characters' faces on it while the other one is actually on the book, and I just thought that was a really cool design. And the spine is like bright yellow as well. So just a quick little bit about this. When Lena and Pablo meet at 5 a.m. at the bodega in the dead of winter, it's absurd to think they'd be a thing. But as they discover who they are, who they want to be, and how to defy the expectations of everyone else... Okay, so obviously Pablo, you pronounce like Pablo, but when it's shortened to P-A-B, do they say Pab or Pab? I should say Pab probably because Pablo, but my brain wants to read it as Pab, which probably isn't right. So Lee and Pab turn to each other, which of course is when things get properly complicated. And the last YA book I got, I can't believe I found this. It is one of the books in the Morganville Vampire series. This is Fall of Night I actually found 2 different books in this series at the used bookstore. The series is actually 16 books, and now that I have this one, there is only one more I need to complete my collection. And I have been trying to avoid just buying them off of Amazon, so I was so excited to find this. I think it's actually a used library book, which is cool. The Morganville Vampires is like an early 2000s YA paranormal romance series. There are ghosts and vampires and a few other supernatural creatures that come in. This series was my Twilight, okay? I read the Twilight books in like 5th and 6th grade, and they were just okay to me. This, however, this is amazing. The covers are a little cheesy because they got like that total early 2000s, 2010s paranormal vibe. But yeah, this series starts with Claire, who's 16, and she's going to college for the first time because she's that smart. And she joins 3 friends who already live together off campus. And there's Shane, who's a regular dude, Michael, who is a ghost that nobody knows that he's actually a ghost yet, and Evie is like the goth girl in town. I believe this is the second to last book in the series, so I won't give any specific spoilers for this. And so the last time I read this series was senior year of high school. I definitely thought they held up since I read them in 6th grade, but it's been a while now since I was in high school as well, so I feel like I'm going to have to do a reread of this series pretty soon here. Keeping in line with the paranormal, but going back to the 1800s, I got this collection of supernatural short stories by Sir Walter Scott. The book cover has this really interesting skull and like plant motif, and there's like some snakes, roses, hands with eyes on them, skulls, death's head moths. So just like a creepy, cute little art style that I love. I honestly don't remember who Sir Walter Scott is. I don't even know if I've read any of his stuff before. I had seen this book, I want to say maybe at like Sam's or something like that when I went for work. But definitely had seen this before at some random store. It says, mostly set in the Highlands of Scotland and presenting a vast array of memorable characters, the stories in this collection are tinged with an element of the supernatural or explore themes of murder and guilt. Ooh! This volume also includes a long excerpt from Scott's Letters on Demonology and Witchcraft, which questions how much credit can be given to the ghost stories and alleged supernatural occurrences. And the one nonfiction book I picked up is Slavic Kitchen Alchemy. Normally, when I read like a witchy book, I usually like to research the person first who wrote it, just because there's a lot of sketchy people out there, and a lot of cultural appropriation and just stuff that's been made up that people want to say, oh, this is like ancient or whatever. And this goes back to pre-Christianization of certain areas, but really they just like made up that shit and made a fake history. But I don't think this book is like that at all. Just flipping through it. So I'm really excited about that. So this is Slavic Kitchen Alchemy, Nourishing Herbal Remedies, Magical Recipes, and Folk Wisdom. This book is infused with the Slavic wisdom and folk healing passed on to Zuza by her 2 Polish grandmothers. It's a beautifully illustrated treasure trove of the old ways of Eastern Europe, full of little rituals and remedies to make your life gentler, sweeter, and more joyful. There's also a really cute art style and some of the illustrations inside. I'll show you that for a second. I like learning about a lot of different like folk practices and mythology and religion. Obviously, I'm not going to practice stuff that is outside my own ancestry, so some of it I just like learning, but I'm not going to incorporate it into like my life, you know? So I was very pleasantly surprised to find this book randomly in the store about like Slavic folk magic. And even though I have a German last name, I honestly don't have any ties to that culture. My family's been in America for a really long time. Like, I don't even know, honestly. I just know, like, when we were cleaning out my grandparents' house, we found, like, a Bible in German that was from the 1800s. And some of the people on my grandma's family who were Polish, we actually found their immigration records, which was really cool. But yeah, on both sides of my family, I have a significant amount of Slavic ancestry, specifically Polish and Czech. Although when my great-grandma's family came to America, that area they were from was actually still called Bohemia. So my family has never really considered themselves Czech. They're like, we're Bohemian. But at this point, I'm so little Bohemian that, like, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, like, I'm just going to say I'm American, you know? And anyway, a lot of times when I say Bohemian, a lot of what comes to people's minds is immediately like the aesthetic Bohemian, and that's not even really totally related to actual, like, Bohemian culture. That's more actually like Romani, if anything. But I am not a fashion historian. I do love researching that as well, but I really don't know much about that. So my family is very Catholic, but I've noticed as I've learned more about like folk Catholicism and stuff, there's a lot of stuff they do that's been passed on that isn't technically considered like Catholic. So I'm super excited to learn more about this kind of stuff from an actual like magical and historical perspective. All right, and then my last two books are both, I believe, adult horror. So let's get into that. First up is The Unmothers by Leslie J. Anderson. This, just the way this cover is, immediately caught my eye with like the black, the kind of like seafoam green, and the bloody horseshoe. The imagery just really popped out, and I thought the title was pretty cool. This is also this author's debut, which I love reading those. In this emotionally raw and propulsive folk horror mystery, a journalist goes to a small town and unravels a dark secret that the women have been keeping for generations. Marshall is still trying to put the pieces together after the death of her husband. To get back on her feet, her editor sends her to a small town of Rayford to investigate a ridiculous rumor that a horse has given birth to a healthy human baby boy. Yeah, that is ridiculous. When Marshall arrives in Rayford, she finds an insular community that is kinder to the horses they are famous for breeding than their own people. But when two horribly mangled bodies are discovered in a field, one a horse, one a human, she realizes there might be a real story here. Unbearably tense and utterly gripping, this atmospheric tale of female rage, bodily autonomy, and generational trauma hails the arrival of a masterful new storyteller. Yeah, that sounds awesome. And last but not least, we're wrapping up the video with a ghost story. This is Miramont's Ghost by Elizabeth Hall. This is also her debut. Miramont Castle, built in 1897 and mysteriously abandoned 3 years later, is home to many secrets. Only one person knows the truth, Adrien Bouvier. I think that's the French pronunciation of that. I don't know. Granddaughter of the Comte de Chambel and cousin to the man who built the castle. Clairvoyant from the time she could talk, Adrienne's visions show her secrets of those around her. When her visions begin to reveal the dark mysteries of her own aristocratic French family, Adrienne is confronted by her formidable Aunt Marie, who is determined to keep the young woman silent at any cost. Marie wrenches Adrienne from her home in France and takes her to America, to Miramont Castle, where she keeps the girl isolated and imprisoned. Ugh. Surrounded by eerie premonitions, Adrienne is locked in a life-or-death struggle to learn the truth and escape her torment. And then here's the sentence that I was like, oh yeah, I gotta read this. Reminiscent of Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, this haunting atmospheric tale is inspired by historical research into the real-life Miramont Castle in Manitou Springs, Colorado. So this sounded really fun. I love a ghost story, especially one with a little history attached to it, and it sounds like this is actually based on a real castle. Hold up, I almost forgot. I actually have one more book. This is from an author friend of mine. Her name is Hayley Turner. Her new book just came out on the 24th of March. And if you like romantic fantasy with actually healthy relationships and good mental health representation, seriously, give this a try. I actually read this book already, but I love it because it is grumpy, not grumpy sunshine, grumpy. And I beta read this back in September. So I'm just really excited to read like the final edition. And so I pre-ordered it and Hayley packaged it up all cute. I did already open the cute little note she wrote me, and she had over 250 pre-orders. I was super just surprised to get like a little personalized thing too. Yay! Ooh, stickers. There is a little yellow conversation heart sticker. It says friends to lovers, and it's kind of glittery. Ooh, and then we have these little quote stickers that I remember she let us vote on. And the final quotes she chose are, "I'm just yours then." Oh, and this quote's from the male lead, Ariel. "Spare me the sermon, sunshine." This book is adult romantic fantasy, by the way, and it is, I would say, like low spice. There's like one scene, but the sequel is going to be considerably spicier. But it's not all about that. But yeah, there's a cute little bookmark with some of the character art. And my favorite, this is our main character, Caine. She's a Lightguard, which is like a magical religious order. And she's super badass. And this is Ariel. This is the prince that Caine is assigned to protect. And they don't exactly hit it off at first. But as they get closer and learn more about each other, things start getting romantic. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Oh, it's even better in person. So I've seen the cover of this a million times, but it's so much better being able to hold it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Again, this is Lightguard by Hayley Turner. I mean, just look at this art. But the special thing about this is it comes with these like purpley blue indigo sprayed. I had to switch mics real quick, so sorry if that sounds a little weird. Ooh. Okay, I'm just staring at this. I need to actually share what I'm experiencing. Okay. So she signed it for me, and there is, I want to pull up the map. There's a color map as well. It's kind of like torn, like you only see part of what's in this world, which I won't say anymore. The sprayed edges like bleeds out into the actual page of the book. That's called a forced edge in like printing terms. So yeah, that's just really fun and really pretty. So this is technically like a shelf trophy because I have already read this a couple times, but I'm just so excited. And this even like arrived for me anyway a couple days early. So I have it before everybody. But yay, it's here! And I can add it to the Hayley corner of my shelf, which you can't really see from here, but it goes on the shelf above this one. But I might just have to leave it out more so I can look at it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, all the books I got from the used bookstore that was closing, I got those for $26. 26! That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 books for $26. Can't beat that price. I put myself on a book buying ban for most of 2025, so this was the first time in a while that I like have a pretty significant little book haul to do. But yay, I'm just like super excited about all of these. But thank you for watching. Please let me know a book that you're super excited about right now. I'd love to hear about it. And I hope you have a good day.